another stream, and we're live. And apparently it was muted. But I am here to tell you that if you're not moving fast, you have big problems. No, it's one of the number one things that people are like, you guys move so fast. You guys move too fast. Oh, like, you move so fast. I don't know how you do so much. I'm going to just throw this out there and say that that's dangerous 9 to 5 thinking that's going to cause problems if you ever start a company, if you think that way. So this is it's such a common thing. So I work with just different types of companies, mostly technology companies, mostly cybersecurity across my history. And when you're working with like executive circles, they're always like, "Oh, we got to get to the next thing. We got to get to the next thing." But then when you move away from executive circles and you're talking to people who are thinking about starting a company, or they work under an employer and they're trying to start like a new initiative, or who knows what they're doing, almost like probably the most common thing that I get at least is people saying something like, less is more, or well, you're doing so fast, too much too fast. But in reality, they're telling me that I'm doing too much or moving too fast. And what do my days actually look like? Like 5 hour work weeks. And then they're telling me I'm doing too much, less is more. And I'm like, hold on. I'm trying to work more than 5 hours this week, and you're telling me less is more. I only worked maybe 5 hours this week, and you're telling me to slow down. So I had a period where I was working with someone, and they're paying me after saying these things. And I just had some time where every time I tried to do something, they'd tell me to stop. So I just sat there for like a month or two wondering what's going on. I try to still try to talk to them, and then ultimately, because I'm just my full time job was trying to get them to let me do something, they're paying me to constantly ask them to allow me to do something because I move too fast. So also, if you're an employer and you hire someone who's moving fast, you want that person on your team, especially if 5 hours out of their day is like, you think that's fast. You're like, whoa, you're going so fast. Don't you want that on your team? Don't you want that on your team?
Yeah, I think I have a few thoughts on this. I think the first is that yeah, people who are saying that to us probably really have no idea they're like internally how we actually work, which is fine. I don't expect people to like understand our organization, like the internal workings of our organization, because that's just not something we need to talk about all that much. We do a lot, but it's like, so I think people are making judgments based off of something without having complete knowledge, because we don't move fast. We are more of like the slow and steady wins the race. You know, it
Yes.
might look like there's a lot going on all of a sudden because it's like there's a peak in activity or something, there's a big announcement or a big release or something. But really, that it's probably been like years or months or if nothing else, like weeks of planning and thinking and developing an idea and a
Always.
concept before it like hits the public eye. So all of that stuff of like, oh my gosh, you guys are moving so fast. It's like, well, actually, we probably been working on this thing for a long time, and now it's now coming to fruition. And yeah, sure, sometimes we get a really good idea, or somebody's like, oh, we need this specific solution to this very specific problem, and we're like, oh, we have that, we can do that, we can deliver that right away. Let's just spin up a new service.
It's a thing.
That happens sometimes too, sure, but for the most part, the majority of our stuff, of the output that we put out is months and years of work and planning and the slow and steady race essentially. My other
Yes.
thought about like the workforce, the 9 to 5 thing, is I feel like for and you know maybe I wasn't a very good employee, but I know that when I worked in an office 9 to 5, there were maybe like only a handful of hours in an 8 hour workday that I was at my in my office that I was actually working. Maybe 2 hours in an actual day. The rest of the time you're talking to your employees. You're probably spending at least half of that time in stupid meetings that are completely useless and wasting everyone's time. You're talking to your coworkers, surfing the internet, you're on Facebook, on LinkedIn, whatever. You're not spending that much time actually working. So when you get into you shift the mode where you're actually working for yourself, you're probably creating a lot more output because the work that you're doing for yourself is a lot more quality than the work you were probably doing in the office environment in which you were working before. So those are my thoughts on this topic.
Move slow to move fast. I'm going to write it in the chat.
I love that. Yeah, move slow to move fast. I saw a post from somebody I follow on LinkedIn today that was like, she was talking about how as an entrepreneur, she only works 20-hour weeks and people think that's insane. I'm like, I think it's insane to work anything more than that because, again, as an entrepreneur, as somebody working in your own business, working on your own, creations, essentially, like, you probably only have 4 solid work hours within you in a day anyway, or you're going to like start burning out and being too fatigued. So if you're
burnout as an entrepreneur is the end.
That is the
when
end.
You're an employer, burnout means you could take sick days, you could just go to the office and sit there and do nothing. Yeah. Oh yeah, you do get PTO too.
Quiet.
Oh, and that PTO, paid time? What? You get paid for it? When you're an entrepreneur, you don't get paid for time off. So if you're not doing something every day, 1 hour every day, 2 hours every day, even 4 or 5 hours every day, it starts at 5 hours, you start to burn out all of a sudden. Employees can if all you have to do is just show up, and then that's the most important thing that you can do. Show up and then just exist in this bubble for a day and then go home. And there are times when there's like stuff that you have to do, but this might sound harsh. I guarantee you, and I'm going to say this from a business owner who has had moments. I've had moments when I thought that I had all these things and I was like, oh, but I have to do all these things. I have to do all these things. And then one time I got really sick as a business owner and I stopped, and all of a sudden all of those things started falling apart and they all started ending. And then I started making more money. And I was like, woo!
You realize
making more money and not just doing a bunch of random stuff that I think I need to do.
Exactly. I think you realize exactly that like so many of the tasks that we fill our days with are like menial and meaningless, and so it's really when you become an entrepreneur, when you take that leap, when you start working on your own side projects, or if you decide to go full-time all in on your own business, you're gonna learn real fast that there's a lot of distractions and there's a lot of stuff that you think is important, but in the end is not important, and it's just distracting you from the actual things that are gonna make you money.
Yeah.
So
do
my mentor tells me that all the time.
Never tell someone like me less is more unless you work less than me. If you work less than me, then you can say less is more.
That's right.
And I probably actually work less than most of whoever is, at least in my audience and things like that. And it really comes down to also we build automation and things like that. So our automations, one way that we do stuff that keeps productivity going, because some people are like, well, but if you're not just doing certain things every day, we actually do focus on, okay, what's our task? Can that task be automated? If the answer is no, we'll scrap that task and try to find something that can be automated. So sometimes the smarter, not harder approach makes a difference too. And so if you spend 2 hours every week working on automations, do that for 3 years. No, really. 3 years. 2 hours. 2 hours every week. There's 52 weeks in a year. 3 years. Multiply that by 3, and then work 2 hours for all of it. That suddenly starts to compound. And then all of a sudden, let's say that you have been building automations. We've been building automations for years. More than 2 hours a week, probably on average, I would say. No, but in some cases, we just didn't work at all. But when you build automations, then it's like every week that you don't do something, every week that you're not doing a whole lot, then the automations keep going. So we kind of focus on what automation are we going to build this week? Okay, what automation are we going to build next week? Mm-hmm. And if we're not building automations, then that's pretty much all we do, because anything else is a lot of work, and I don't really want to work that much. And you don't have to either. So anyways.
Yeah.
Life. So
there you go. We don't really work that fast. We just work smart.
And automate a lot. And we've been doing it for years now. So we have, I have 7 years automations, and then Cloud Underground alone has 3 years worth of automation. Mm-hmm. So really, just automate something every week. Don't burn yourself out. And
Yeah.
truly, you'll find that if you build a business, burnout really is the end. And if you're an employee, like burnout, you can take PTO, you can take breaks. You can't do that as a business owner. So you can't have that attitude. Honestly, really,
At least not
it's
until you're
a
established.
dangerous attitude.
Because I think once you're established, then hopefully you have. That's the whole point of building a business, right? Is you have then the freedom and flexibility to, take off when you want, because you have those automated systems established. But while you're building, it can be, taking a couple weeks off can be the death of you because there's no one else there doing the stuff. So, or you haven't created the automated systems yet. So I think, it's important to keep those things in mind as you're building your business. And you can work like us, automate as much as possible, and work less.
If it's boring, automate it.
That's
if you hate it, automate it. If you don't like doing it, automate that too.
That's right.
And if you automate enough things, eventually your days are just kind of filled with thinking. And so, like, I don't know, our full-time job is thinking. Like, what's going to... And then, like, all the automation's almost like a chessboard. So it's like, well, let's move this one here. Ooh, that didn't go well. Let's move that one over there. And then meanwhile, we see all these other people who are always burnt out. And they're like, doing so much, this is so hard, guys.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just so hard all the time. And those entrepreneurs, it doesn't end well. Like it's always, I always see it end the same way.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you just can't do that.
Yeah. You
got to slow down.
Work smarter, not harder. Automate the boring things.
And then when you think a lot, people will tell you to slow down.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts here?
No, that's it.
Yeah. For those of you who want to start your own business, work at your own pace, or if you are already working as an entrepreneur or solopreneur and want to introduce some new systems and automations to your business, check out our RPG of Life incubator. It's free. There's a link in the description. And I think that wraps it up.
Automate everything.
Automate everything.
Turn your life into an RPG.
Yes.
Join our RPG incubator right now. The life...
The RPG of Life incubator.
The RPG of Life incubator. Turn life into an RPG, everyone. So thanks for watching. We appreciate you.
We'll see you next time.
We'll have more